Hey everybody, it's Barbara and I'm back with my second video about my approach to polymer clay. In my first video I talked about a lot of the things that I think about when I work with polymer clay, which included getting into the mind of polymer clay, approaching the medium in a new way, and those sorts of topics. And I'll link to it here on the Love My Art Jewelry blog. Some of the questions that were raised in the comments and privately were people wanted to know about how to bake polymer clay and the essential tools that are needed to get started in polymer clay. And the first most essential tool is the toaster oven. Now this is my toaster oven. This is the toaster oven I use to bake all my pieces. And I've had several toaster ovens. The first most important thing you need to know about baking polymer clay is you need to have a dedicated oven. Most of us can't afford a separate home range or oven, so we have to resort to a toaster oven. And that's fine, but there's certain things that you need to know about a home toaster oven that are going to differ from your home oven. They both operate in the same way. They both cycle on and off with their heat by using heating elements, but they're insulated in a different way. Now this oven costs about $30 if you were to go to a big box store and purchase it new. Now by contrast, a home oven is going to cost you, several $100s to several $1,000s depending on your means. To have in your home, and most of us can't afford to have a second home oven like that at our disposal. So that's why we use the toaster oven. Now, what's the difference between a home oven and a toaster oven? A toaster oven is insulated much more cheaply. A home oven is insulated with 2 walls of sheet metal, and there is a decided insulator inside those 2 pieces of sheet metal, and that's what keeps the heat in. That's what makes everything bake evenly, your food, your pies, etc. A toaster oven doesn't have that insulation in between the 2 sheet walls. There are still 2 pieces of sheet metal, but the insulation that's used is air. The heating elements are basically the same, but it's just a smaller version. So while they cycle on and off, there's a lot of heat loss that's involved. So those are the things that if you're having trouble baking and curing your polymer clay, and that's what's probably hindering you, is that there's a giant heat loss from a toaster oven that you can't compensate for. So if your polymer clay says you need to bake it for 265 degrees at 15 to 20 minutes, but your oven never reaches 265 degrees, that's going to be a huge problem. And why is it not reaching that temperature? Well, it's because it's cycling on and off. It may go as high as 275 or 285 or 290 depending on the thermostat on your oven, and it may drop way below that because it cycles on, it goes way up, and then when it gets that temperature it goes way down to cool it down. So how do we rectify that? Well, there's a couple different ways, but this is the way that I like the best. Now I'm going to open my toaster oven and show you the inside of how I bake things. I bake things onto the sheet that came with my toaster oven. I purchased this one brand new. Actually, it was a gift. But I purchased one brand new, and it came with this little baking sheet. A lot of polymer clay artists, they use heat-tempered glass tiles or ceramic tiles that fit inside their oven. Excuse me. And I hear they get great results with that. I have never tried it. I've always used this way. I place a sheet of parchment paper, and this one probably needs to be replaced, but it works well. Inside of my sheet, like so. And my second essential tool for baking polymer clay is an oven gauge, and you can get these at any retailer that sells, you know, kitchen goods. And it's just a basic oven thermometer, and it sits on my sheet. So that way, because basically the consistent temperature inside your oven is going to differ from the thermometer or the thermostat on the front of the oven. It's going to go up and it's going to go down. But what you need to find is the constant temperature. That temperature where it's going to be at 265 or whatever the recommendations are for your specific brand of polymer clay that you're using. It's going to stay at that range for the specific amount of time that you are cooking it or curing it, or I call it cooking, but if you want to be fancy you can call it curing or firing, but it's not really firing. Ask any ceramic bead artist and they'll tell you polymer clay is not firing. So you can get these. They cost about $5 or maybe $7 at any kitchen store. And so that's how I bake my beads. Now you're going to put this in there, and so basically you're going to make a bead. You can make any bead you want. If you're just starting out, go buy a block of polymer clay. Let me find one for you. Over here in my big box of tricks. So here we have one. So, if you want the very basic essential tools, go get a block of polymer clay, open it up, roll some beads, just form the clay in your hands until it's malleable, roll them into some beads, buy a toaster oven. You don't even have to buy a new toaster oven. And that's the thing, like, they sell these craft clay toaster ovens at the big box craft stores. You don't need that. I've had, in fact, my favorite ovens came from thrift stores and garage sales and those types of things. Like, I just happened to have this one that somebody bought for me as a gift for a Christmas present. So that's why this one was new when I got it. But I've had plenty that came from garage sales that were, you know, like $3 or $5, and they work just fine as long as you have the gauge, so you can figure out the specifics of your oven and how the temperature goes up and down. So your essential tools: roll a bead, put it on the tray, stick it in the oven, bake it, and test it out and see how it works. And that's really like your very, very basic tools, and you can do so much with just basic oven. Get it at a garage sale or a thrift store. Block of polymer clay. It's going to cost you like $2.50, $3, and go to town. You know, it's really that simple, and that's going to start you on your journey to finding how you work with polymer clay best. It's really that simple. Now, that question about the basic essentials of polymer clay came from Patty, and she works, actually she doesn't work, she does work, but she blogs at myaddictionshandcrafted.blogspot.com. So I wanted to give a shout out to Patty and thank her for asking questions, and even though I'm not very good on video and I'm flubbing up my words, thank you, Patty, for asking that question and me being able to answer it. I'm very grateful for that. Now the baking. I think I sort of addressed the baking, but I'll go over it again. Patty from mylifeunderthebus.typepad.com asked about the baking. And her concerns were that her clay that she's baked has always come out sort of bendy, and that is addressed by the temperature gauge. You have to figure out the temperature in your oven, and it has to be consistent for the clay that you're using for that specific amount of time that the manufacturer recommends that it be baked. This happens to be Primo by Sculpey, and just as a reference, they recommend it be baked at 275, 30 minutes per 1/4 inch. So your oven needs to maintain that temperature, that 275, for 30 minutes per 1/4 inch. So if you have a piece that's, specifically this one is waiting to be baked, this one is about a 1/4 inch. So I need to bake this. This oven has to maintain 275 for 30 minutes per 1/4 inch. So that's how you work that. And you're going to burn some are going to be bendy, but it's like it's trial and error, and you have to get this. This is really more essential than even your toaster oven, because it's going to tell you what is going on inside the oven, outside of what the thermometer says on the outside. So I hope that answered some of your questions, and I hope, gosh, I'm still new to video, so be kind to me. It's very hard. Like, I've taken about 8 takes today, and maybe someday I'll do a blooper video of all my of all my bad videos that I have to make before I make one halfway decent video. But anyway, thank you for visiting, and in my next video I really want to talk more about tools and different tools that you can use. So if you have more questions about those tools, rollers, tools, cutters, texture plates, that would be really cool, and I'd like to see it in the comments. So until next time, bye!